Hi, welcome back to OD YouTube channel. Hi, welcome back to OD YouTube channel and to another ink of the Diamine Inkvent Calendar. And let's start. Today is the 16th December. So, where it's here. Let's see what ink we have inside. This one was easy. And it's called Tundra, which is kind of exquisite, and I like the idea of going one day to the Tundra to see the landscape and the ecosystem. And it's fun because it's a standard ink, and it reminds me of a beautiful Tundra pen. I think it was an Aurora pen. I don't have it, but it reminded me. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful pen. So, okay, never mind. Stay there and I will review this ink right away. So, let's see how this looks in a swatch. So, 1, 2, 3 little droplets of ink. Close the bottle. Just put it aside and let's see. Kind of strange. The color is kind of greenish gray. Can I call it that way? I'm not sure if I will love this ink because I have a problem with gray inks. I love greens, and I'm not sure if this is saturated enough. We'll see. So there's no point of being rambling around. I will put these into pens. I'll let these dry and then we will talk about my thoughts about this ink. So stay there, I'll be right back. So let's see how this grayish ink looks like. So it is an ink that I don't find that exciting, but here it is. So it has some shading from very light to quite dark. It has a little bit of sheen on some places, but it's kind of a black sheen. So this is a standard ink, so it's not expected to have very special capacities or qualities about it. So let's just see how it compares with some other inks that I have. And I brought here lots of inks just to show you some differences. And so we have the Seize the Night, which is kind of also a very shady and powdery ink. This is Seize the Night from 2021 calendar, which is not similar. And I have also here the Diamine, one of my favorite inks ever from every calendar that I already opened, the 2019 Solstice, which has, in my opinion, the same, or if not the same, it's very similar, base color, this one. Then it has all the sheen and shimmer, but this base color, I think it's quite the same. I also brought here to the table from the calendar 2021, the Ash, which I think, I would say, how can I say? I think it's the same ink, just this one has a cool tone, this one has a warm tone and this one has a cool tone to it. But I would say they are the same ink, just this is warm, this is cold. That's really what I think. So this is the best match to me. around all these, and I also brought here the day 8 of 2024, the Marley, just because it has similar characteristics, but you can see this is kind of a purple and this is not, so it's not that comparable. So let's take the Marley away, and I have here the Herbin Grinoage, and the Herbin Grinoage is even cooler than that one, and it is more blue and lighter, so it's not really comparable. I have the Kaveco Smoky Grey, which is similar more similar with the Ash, not with the Tundra. The shade is not really bad. And then we have the Mont Blanc Oyster Grey, which is a warmer grey, but it is much more saturated than this. So this is really an ink that I would say it is not unique, because these two are really similar, just different temperatures of color, that if I can say it that way. So let's see the chromatography that I made. And what I have here is an ink that really has a part of it that is kind of water resistant. It stays there, but then most of it washes away. So what we have here is just a very faint gray line. And even though it is water resistant in that particular gray line, gray is not the best color to be seen on paper, so I would not call it really water resistant, but these inks are not being sold as water resistant inks, so I'm not complaining. And the ink it mostly goes with the water, and we have here a kind of reddish part, a yellow part, and the blue component also. So that's what we have, and here we have that base line. For this ink, I chose two fine pens instead of a fine and a broad, but I really want to play with some other stuff that I don't have the chance to play with them all the time. So one is this is a Parker Centennial Duofold from 1989, I think, and it has an interesting nib, this arrow-shaped nib, kind of a number 6, and this nib, you cannot see it, but here it has a fine, the feed has fine on it, but the feed is not the original for this nib. It is the same model, but the nib was marked differently, but that one was destroyed in a long story. So this nib is a needle point. It's a very, very, very fine nib. And this pen is a cartridge converter pen. The other pen that I chose was this, that I like a lot, the Diplomat. I never use it, and I don't know why, because I like it. It has a stain there, which is very strange. I'm not sure if this will clean or if this is some kind of oxidation. If you know, please let me know. This is the Diplomat Aero in the factory finish. Factory finish, it's raw aluminium, and the raw aluminium has this whitish, strange stain, and it doesn't come off. So if you have an idea, please let me know. Maybe it's kind of more a chemical process than really just a stain. And this nib is a fine nib. It has a Jowo nib, very well tuned. It is a fine. And just for comparison, let me show you both tips, the fine and the needle point. You can see the needle point is quite thinner. So these are the two pens that I chose. I know gray ink with needle point nib is kind of crazy, but that's what I did. And so here we have the three papers, and I would say that the behavior of the ink is very similar in all the papers, except for the Navigator, as usual. Navigator paper has bleed through, as usual, and you have some shading on it. There is shading, but when we compare the shading on this copy paper with the shading with the Oxford paper or with Diamine, with the Moleskine, it's not comparable at all. And in this case, which is not that common, the shading with Moleskine is even better than the shading with the Oxford. What I think is that the shading with the fine nib is more pronounced on the Moleskine and less here on the Oxford, but there is almost no sheen, no shading with the needle point, and you can see some shading even with the needle point on the Oxford paper. There's no bleed through on any of these papers, which is, it's kind of interesting. I think these inks are really well formulated because they are performing very well on Moleskine paper, which is not good for fountain pens. This copy paper is even worse, but sometimes that's what we have at our workplaces, for example, when there is still copy machines and copy paper, you'll see that sometimes the paper that we have around is not that good. That's why I show also the writing samples on that kind of paper. And that's not, believe me, the worst copy paper around. And then we have the Rhodia dot pad. You can see it's a gray ink, but it is a dark one. It has something that I like. I don't like gray inks that look like pencil writing. I can't stand it, and it doesn't, because it's a little bit darker and warmer. It dries very fast, but I did this with the needle point, so there was not much ink on the paper. And you can see where the water was, there's still some visibility, but it is a very light gray, and I wouldn't say that's very usable. So overall, this is it. This is an ink that it is better than what I expected for a gray ink, but it would not be an ink that I would buy because it's gray and it's not that impressive. Let's just do the phrase about the fox here with the two pens. So the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. You can see this is really a very fine line. Sometimes it almost doesn't write. You see that the dog, the G, it's very light. And then the diplomat arrow, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this one is much wetter. So this is all I had to show you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I want to thank you a lot for watching these daily reviews. I think this kind of video is not for everyone, but there are people that enjoy this kind of videos, so I'm happy to make them. So thank you all. Thank you, Appelboom, for sending me the calendar for free for review, and I hope to meet you here again for another ink sample. Bye.